Chào các bạn đã quay lại với kênh Beyond Trà Đá của Trà My và Huyền Lê. Mình là Huyền Lê ở đầu cầu Phanh Phút. Và trước khi trò chuyện với khách mời Mommy của ngày hôm nay, thì mình muốn giới thiệu với các bạn một chút về cuộc sống của mình ở đây. Đây là nhà hàng ramen rất là nổi tiếng ở Phanh Phút, nhà hàng mà mình rất là thích. Và mình đang đi ăn tối cùng với các bạn mình ở đây.
Probably
It's
it's like marijuana.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
easy to get here too, I think, probably.
You know, hash.
Và bây giờ
Hash
thì mình
is
cùng trò chuyện
also
với Thanh.
like
Cô ơi, cháu xin cốc trà đá với ạ. Cháu cốc trà đá nhé.
Welcome to Beyond Trà Đá with Trà My and Huyền. And today is a very special day for me because today is the first episode ever in this series that I'm actually wearing makeup. You know, my co-host, Chami, she has been always complaining that I never wear makeup and I look like, quote her, a dead fish. And that's why today I want to change this impression. And not only why it's special, today is also special for me because today's topic is a topic that I hold dear, that I experienced myself, and that I know for sure thousands of Vietnamese women are going through right at this moment. I saw it with my own mother, my sister, and I really wish that for the next generations, like my nieces and her daughters, they will not have to go through the same experience like I and others, my generations did. It is social pressure and expectations faced as women. I myself grew up in a tiny village in Vietnam, and I was expected to become a teacher, to get married and have kids by the time I'm 25 years old. Not that anything is wrong with that. The issue is that it's not what I wanted for myself or how I picture my life would be. And as a kid, I listened to Britney Spears and I wish that one day I could see her in person. I wanted to travel the world and see what I saw only on TV. And my family was poor, and it was tremendously difficult for me to come this far to have the life that I wanted for myself. But the utmost challenge was not the fact that I have to ride 20 kilometers per day to go to an English class, but the fact that it was a social pressure I faced as, first young girl and then a young woman, and the constant voice that kept saying to myself that, I should be this, I should be that. Not the voice that say, it's okay if I choose a less known path. And through this talk, we would like to expose an alternative way of living to thousands of girls out there, including my nieces, and that anything is possible, that they can dream to be whatever they want to be, and not only what their parents want them to be or the society thinks that they should be. Our guest for today is Bonnie. She's a dear friend, and though we have known each other for a short amount of time, when she moves to Frankfurt, I love her positive energy, the kindness and warmth that exudes her. And not only that, I also recently discovered how much we have in common, even though we come from different countries, different backgrounds, but we both face society pressure as women. And hopefully today we can share our stories with you. So hi, Bonnie, thank you for being here today.
Hi, thank you for inviting me to your YouTube and podcast, and I'm really happy to share my story with you today.
As a start, we only met a few months ago, but I really like the fact that you're so kind and bubbly, and so you moved to Frankfurt recently. So maybe can you share a little bit about yourself, and also how come you end up here in Frankfurt?
Yes. Okay, so my name is Bumi, and I'm from South Korea. I have lived and worked in Germany almost for 4 years and a half. So 3 years in a small city in Germany, 9 months in Berlin, which is my favorite city, and now it's been 7 months in Frankfurt. Previously, I worked in Singapore for 2 years, since I had a chance to do internship there and found a full-time job afterwards. And before, I grew up in Busan and studied in Seoul in Korea. And just a brief introduction of my journey to Germany here.
Yes. Thank you. So I was in Korea a few years ago, and very short amount of time, only a few days. But my impression was how modern the country is. What is this like growing up and living in South Korea as a younger and then a young woman?
Well, Korea has been developed and modernized internally and externally. So the people in young generation are not that traditional, but open to the new culture and trend. But there are still some sort of stereotyped gender roles and expectation. So it is expected that women do housework and babysitting when they are married, whereas men are in charge of working and earning money. And nowadays, there are many women who are still working after getting married and delivering babies, but they have to do the housework at the same time, which is not fair. And also, there is a standardized image of beauty, like big eyes, sharp nose, white skin, and slim body, which makes women undergo plastic surgery and extreme diets. And recently, due to the Western culture, curvy body shape became popular. But this means that you still have to keep slim with big boobs and butt, which doesn't make sense. I can't imagine
Okay.
how my life would be if I were in Korea now. Probably I would be busy grooming myself and going on a diet every day. And I might suffer from an inferiority complex, constantly comparing my appearance with the standardized beauty.
Wow, that's actually crazy. But it's there's something similar in Vietnam as well, where I don't know because of Western influence or what, but white skin is considered beauty. So a lot of women actually go to, I don't know, spa or do something. Actually, don't know what they do, and to make their skin whiter. And yeah, is it the same in Korea as well?
Yeah, they go to some kind of clinic or spa to make the skin whiter and remove the pimple or some unnecessary things on the face.
Yeah. Oh my God. Imagine living in that, constant, kind of like constant fear that you're not good enough. That's crazy. So you moved and live in different cities. What triggered this? Why did you move? And what's your favorite place to live so far? Is it Europe? And if it is, and why?
Well, the first movement from Korea to Singapore was by chance. As I told you, I got an opportunity to do internship in Singapore, and I was planning to come back to Korea after I finish. But when I was about to take a flight from Singapore to Korea, which is just a week before my flight, I got an offer as a full-time job, which made me stay longer in Singapore. And later, I become curious about the life in other countries, and I wanted to challenge myself again in new environment, as long as I'm young and free to travel.
Yes.
So when it has been almost 2 years in Singapore, I decided to find a new challenge in Germany, because one of my friends live in Hamburg that time, and I have only been in Southern Europe like France and Spain. So why in Germany? So curiosity and challenge motivated me to move from Asia to Europe, I would say. And my favorite city to live is Berlin. It's quite international, multicultural, and artistic. So I could make good international friends, visit many private art exhibitions, and enjoy the nightlife almost every weekend. It's a pity that I moved from Berlin to Frankfurt before the summer came, but I hope to make a trip to Berlin soon when the coronavirus comes to an end.
Yes. So you mentioned something that I find very interesting is that curiosity brought you here. And
Yeah.
actually it's the same for me because, as a kid, I was in a tiny village, it's even until now, there's no ATM. It's all only rice field. And I remember seeing things in TV and I was thinking, oh my God, I wonder what it's like to see these cities in person.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, also curiosity was a big impact on my journey. So for all these young girls and boys out there, be curious. Be curious about the world, curious about what you haven't seen. The world is so big. So when you're young, just go travel if you can, or if you cannot because of financial reason or whatever, then there is always a way. Because I am a proof. My family was poor; we couldn't afford to go outside of Vietnam, but there is always a way. Scholarship, fellowship, whatever. But yes, thank you for bringing it up for me, because be curious. And so you also, from my personal experience, I also know that moving around is very interesting, and it's great, but it's also, there's a lot of challenges. So what challenges you face moving around so much, and how did you overcome these challenges?
I used to feel depressed and lonely when I was homesick sometimes. And I made a phone call with my family and friends whenever I missed them. But somehow it killed me to think that I was not able to reach them at that moment, and I became confused of my decision to move here, because life is not only about work, travel, and experience, but you really need someone to support you around. But after a long-lasting, careful consideration, I realized that I was narrow-minded and looked for a connection and friendship somewhere from a distance. There were always many good people around giving me a hand, but I didn't take them as my people. And that's the biggest reason why I couldn't feel here like my home. So I started to open my mind and try to make friends by doing sports, learning German, and joining a group with the same interests. Of course, in the beginning, it was not that easy, as I'm a little bit shy and reserved. But I gave it a try and saw a big difference in my life with this small attempt. Firstly, I don't seek for affection or attention anymore. Previously, I was missing my family and friends so much because I thought there's no one caring about me nearby. But I began to accept that my life is already full of love from the people around me here at this time. And what I have to do is appreciating and sharing this love. And secondly, I became to observe and understand the German culture by learning German. And in the end, I had the feeling that I've got used to Germany and I was settling here finally. And in addition, I became healthy physically and mentally by doing some sports, and it helps me to think in a positive way. And it's also good for relieving stress by sweating and getting my worries out of my mind. So this is what I suffer from so far and how I've overcome the challenge.
I think those are very, very helpful tips and very practical tips, and tips that you can actually use in any cities. And you're right. Like, I feel that a lot of times. I feel like, I miss Vietnam, especially now in winter, and especially with lockdown, COVID. I miss the I miss my friends in Vietnam. I miss my family, and I miss the food, the crowdedness, the city, just the vibe, the energy. And you're right. I also have to remind myself that there's a reason why I've moved here. Of course, there's always a trade-off, but I moved here for reasons, and because this is what I want to do for myself. And it's always important to have a good circle of friends, and that's very important tips that you mentioned, and that's why I'm happy that we become friends even in just a short amount of time. um, so you also mentioned that you try to get rid of worries. Is there a way that you do this? How you do this? And how do you keep fit? Physically, how does it work for you?
Okay, before the lockdown, I regularly went to gym, do yoga, and go jogging, and do some sports. And these days, I'm trying to get my worries out of my mind by meditation and reading some books by myself. Because if I just sitting down at home lonely, I know very well that I will get crazy or I will freak out.
Yes, I actually I do the same. I also love some quietness time for myself, like reading a good book and try to meditate, even though I'm not very good. But yes, those are very, 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 very helpful. So you live both in Asia, like Singapore, South Korea, and in Europe. What do you see as the main differences living in Asia and in Europe?
Well, I can only compare Korea with Germany, since these are the only countries I live for longer.
Okay.
And the first difference is the tempo of life. In Korea, we have hurry mentality. So people are always busy and impatient of delay or late reply. For example, many of the restaurants in Korea have the bells on the table, so the customers can ring the bell when they want to order or ask for something. So they don't need to wait for the waiter or waitress to come and serve. But based on my experience here in Germany, people are used to the slow pace of life. They don't mind waiting to be served in the restaurant. And I remember it took more than 30 minutes at least to get the bill and make payment after I asked for the bill to the waiter in the restaurant. Another example is making an appointment. It is usually require making an appointment to go to hospital, city hall, or bank. And it is really hard to make one immediately, but you have to wait for some weeks to have an appointment. So when I first came to Germany, I found it frustrating to apply myself to this slow tempo of life. But now I became more patient and understand how it works in Germany. And secondly, in Germany, people do not really care how other people think. So basically, you can do whatever you want as long as it's legally allowed. And it was kind of sensation for me because I grew up in a society where people have some sort of expectation and stereotype when it comes to gender, age, beauty, and so on. So I try hard to squeeze myself to be a normal person in Korea, which is defined by society. For example, I spent the whole 3 years studying when I was in the high school. I didn't even dream of doing some sports, playing games, or going out with friends because the society defined a successful person as the one who graduated from a good university and work in a big company or as a lawyer, doctor, or professor. And of course, I wanted to be a successful person as well. And it starts with entering a good university, which made me study the whole day and night for 3 years. But now I know this definition is wrong, and everyone has its own right to design his life. And you're not able to judge anyone by how much he earns or how he looks like. probably my life would not be the same if I grew up in Germany, since I don't have to push myself to study all the time.
Yeah.
And anyway, thanks to this tendency in Germany, I also don't care how other people think about me and what other people do in their life. I'm just who I am, and I have no intention to change following their judgment or expectation. And it's a bit late, but I'm still figuring out what I like. Because finally in Germany, I realized that I can design my life as the way I like and became interested in my talent and taste.
You know, that's very, very inspiring and very brave. And I know how difficult it must have been, because, you know, I don't know, it is very hard to break away from, you know, thousands of years of traditions and gender roles and, you know, society's norms. All of those things are very difficult to break away. So it's very inspiring that you did and you decided to choose your own path and do that what you want to do. And you know, for me, my image of you is a very beautiful, confident young woman who very friendly and, you know, easy to be friends with. And also today I discovered a side of you that actually, even though we're friends for some time, but I didn't know that even you look like you know, very, you look like you have soft demeanors, but actually you're very strong will and very brave. And thank you for sharing that. And do you have any advices for, you know, young female students, girls, the one who just like maybe in university still figured out, and, you know, any advice for them?
Well, I would like to say love and accept the way you are. Everyone has its own value, and there's nothing right or wrong or good or bad. Like, there exists a variety of colors in this world, but can you tell which color is the most beautiful or good? Every color is unique and special, and it goes the same with you. You're beautiful and you're the most special person in this world because there is only one like you. And what I also want to say is be confident and have trust in yourself, whatever you do. When you're not sure if you made a right decision or you're not on the right way, do not hesitate, but just give it a try first. There is nothing to lose as long as you're young. I have a fear of height, but I decided to try bouldering last year because I wanted to overcome this fear someday. And sure, most of the time I fell down from the wall and couldn't reach the top. But when I managed to climb up, my heart started pumping with the joy of achievement. And I never forget this pleasure of achievement. And that's the reason why I didn't give up, even though there's a long way to go. So don't underestimate your potential, but believe in your power. And yeah, that's all I can advise to you.
You know, it's interesting because I remember that when we first met, and you said that you were going bouldering, and I was like, okay. And, you know, and then what surprised me is that you kept going every week, and I was like, wow, she's like going every week, you know, regardless of the weather, regardless of, you know, how you feel, or, you know, you want to, you know, because sometime in the weekend I would like to you know, slip in, and so I really admire that as well. And I really just want to say that, you know, you're a very strong-willed, impressive, and brave young women. And it's really great that, you know, I got to meet you and be friends. And, you know, thanks again for sharing all this wisdom with the audience. And, you know, I know for sure that, you know, your stories would inspire somewhere a girl in a province or city in Vietnam to really pursue her dreams and not seeking for approval of other people anymore. And for that, I would like to thank you.
Well, thank you again for inviting me here and also listening to my story. I wish it would be helpful to all of you. Thank you very much today.
Thank you, Bami. And if you and for the audience, if you would like to any other topics, or if you would like to ask Bami any questions, please leave the comment and we will get back to you. And thank you, and look forward to seeing you in another episode.